Are you ready to step into a life full of love, happiness, joy? Do you want to expand from a negative state to a positive one that you're excited about each and every day? If so, this is going to be the episode for you because we're going to talk about the process that will allow you to make that shift and stay in your positive light. My name is Henry, and this is the #1 mindset podcast, the Positive Mindset Podcast, where we come together to raise our vibration, lift our perspective, and build that positive mindset. I'm so excited to connect with you because this message, I believe, is going to be a powerful one that you can apply today to make the positive shift that you want. But before we get started, we're going to take a few moments to slow down, zero in. We're going to take some deep, healing, meditative breaths to help us align on the frequency that we want in our lives. So you're going to pick a word. It can be love, joy, happiness, abundance, whatever frequency you want. And we're going to take a deep breath in. And as you're breathing in, you're going to say that word over and over and over again. Really charge yourself up with that energy. And then as you hold your breath, visualize yourself doing something in that frequency. And once you exhale, anything that no longer resonates with you will leave you and you'll be in a more positive state. So let's go ahead and take a deep breath in. And out. We're going to take another deep breath. This one is about alignment, about getting ourselves in receiving mode so that we can receive the message that we need to hear to get us in that positive state. So just imagine that you are surrounded by the most healing, uplifting energy that's meant specifically for you. It could have a certain color, a certain taste, a certain smell, however you imagine it. And when you breathe it in, it's going to charge you up. It's going to break down the negativity, the blocks, the weight, everything that's just been holding you back. And once you exhale, anything that no longer resonates with you will leave you and you'll be in a more positive state. So let's go ahead and take another deep breath in. And out. So something that I feel I say a lot, and if we've messaged back and forth through social media or something like that, you may have heard me say this, but it's that I feel that even though we are taking different paths, we are on the same journey. We are trying to get into that love frequency, that high energy so that we have fulfillment, joy, love for our life. And so your path might be your path, my path might be my path, but sometimes I've noticed that we hit the same points, meaning a very relevant perspective applies across the board. And I think this is one of them because in my recent coaching calls, this has really come up. And so I think it's going to be tremendously positive for you. And the message is believing you, believing what you are. You see, we think, or at least in my experience, it seems like people want, including myself, to feel a certain way quickly. But life, this experience does not work that way. So I want you to imagine this situation. So imagine you just got this job and you've been working there for a little while and it's an in-person job, so you go there and there's a boss there. And every time you get in, that boss is already there. And when they see you, they say, "Henry, what are you doing here? I did not expect you to come in today. You're the worst performer on our team. Everyone else is here. You really don't need to show up. Honestly, every week I expect you to give me your resignation letter. This is not good. You are not good at this job. We're only keeping you here because we don't want to bother with firing you. You're not going to have a good day. You're going to fail. You're going to be the worst on the team again and again. In fact, the only reason people like you here at work is because they feel better about themselves when they see you come in." Imagine having that boss. Would you enjoy working there? Would you be a high performer at that job? Would you be fulfilled with your work? Most of us would not. We would feel beat down, and if we didn't leave and we stayed, we would have low self-esteem. Our belief in ourselves would go down. And you can easily think about in your life influences that were similar to that. Now imagine the same exact scenario. You've been working at this place for a little while now, but the boss is the exact opposite of that. They're always there before you get there. But the first thing they do when they see you is, Henry, I'm so excited to see you today. You are the best part of the day when you get in here. We are going to have a rockin' day. I hope you're fired up. You had a tremendous week last week. We couldn't have done anything without you. I'm so thankful that you're here. Everyone loves it when you're here because you bring the joy, you bring the excitement, you bring the energy that makes us successful. And then every time you work on a project or you do something, they are there to cheer you up. Or when you make a mistake, instead of beating you down like the old boss that said, I'm not concerned about this mistake because honestly I knew you would make it. The new boss says, it's okay. You know what? I make mistakes too. In fact, you probably wouldn't believe this, but I've messed this up worse than you. But you always figure it out. We're going to work our way through this and then we're going to come out better on top because I know you can do it. Imagine the difference in you between those two bosses. Now, what is the narrative in your head? Is the narrative in your head like the low energy boss, the negative boss, or is it like the positive boss? You see, one day of having that boss wouldn't change you. You may feel disgruntled or you may feel empowered. But if the boss went away after one day, no change would be made. So in your mind, if you are a negative thinker and you have that negative boss talking to you, one day of the positive boss is not going to change you. It will take time. You have to commit to being the positive boss to yourself. When you do that, when you identify this as a tool, when you say, this voice in my head that I'm going to place in my mind going forward is going to be there for eternity, and then you prove it to yourself that it is, that's when you believe the change. When you do that, when you say, okay, I'm going to have this positive coach, this positive boss in my mind, lifting me up, helping me with perspective, telling me that I can do this, telling me that I'm making the right choice, empowering me, forgiving me, lifting me, all of those things. When you tell yourself and you tell the universe that I am going to have this, because what that is not just a voice in your head. It's frequency. It's energy. So when you tell the universe, I'm going to have this on rainy days, on sunny days, on hard days, on easy days, on happy days, on sad days. When you say, that's the new narrative in your head, you're actually saying, this is a new frequency that I operate in. And what that voice does, what that perspective does, is raise your lens. You start seeing in alignment with the high frequency. As you start seeing, you start believing. As you start believing, you start receiving. That's how this works. So you can't just think that you're going to listen to a podcast and change. You can't just think that you're going to do one good day and change or one good week. It's going to take a while. In fact, the more entrenched you are in your current state, whether it's positive or negative, the more time you're going to have to commit to being the opposite of it. People aren't going to notice externally. People aren't going to come up to you and congratulate you on having a good day after you've had a year of bad ones. Because you lifting to a good day is a neutral state because of where you're coming from. When you get into the neutral state, people might be more comfortable because you're not in that negative energy, but they're not going to notice. It's going to take day in, day out work, month after month after month, year after year. But each time you do it a little bit more, your belief becomes a little bit stronger and your reception of it becomes a little bit stronger. It's worth it. What does it matter if it's going to take you 2 years to heal? You see, this is where most people get lost. It's the biggest mistake I think people have. What does it matter? You see, in my one-on-one exercises and what I've talked about on this podcast, we talk about creating the highest version of you. The most loving, the most forgiving, the most successful, the most expansive, the most abundant version of you. Like the version of you that I believe God believes you knows that you can be. That you underneath it all know you should be. That version. We create that version so we can start connecting with it. As you start connecting with it, you realize how worth it is to become that version of you. You start doing little things, and even though the result maybe isn't there, you get a brief connection to that energy, that feeling of being your highest self. So day in and day out, that starts to grow. As that starts to grow, your self-belief starts to grow. As your self-belief starts to grow, the feelings, like the reception of that higher you, come into play so that you feel well within. The world maybe doesn't reflect it yet, but you start feeling well within. There is no more powerful person than the person that is content and fulfilled and loved and enjoy of their character, of how they present themselves, of how they think and how they act. That's the path forward. If you want love in your life, create the coach in your mind that says these things constantly. If you have that and they say it constantly over time, that will become your default perception. If that becomes your default perception, guess what? It becomes your default reception. When you constantly perceive the good in the world, constantly, even when it's hard, you will constantly receive the good energy of the world. That doesn't mean just be happy and go lucky and that you're just going to receive all the good, although that can happen. It means you will receive the good energy, meaning what's happening externally no longer affects you because whatever the situation is, you find the love. If you find the love externally, you're able to bring it in internally. If you have the love internally, it will present itself externally. This is how it works. Which boss do you have in your mind? Which boss do you want in your mind? After you've listened to this podcast, you have to understand this exact episode. If you're still listening, it is now a choice. It's not an easy choice. It's not something I know that you can just say, oh, I'm this now. But it is a choice. Even if it's 99% hard, 1% easy to make this choice, it is now a choice. You have heard a path that works. I am telling you this works. This works for any frequency, wealth, health, or happiness. All three, this works. Create the energy within you. Act accordingly, meaning don't say that I am healthy and I make healthy decisions. Go to a restaurant, look at the menu and say in your mind, I am healthy and I make healthy decisions, because that's the I am statement in alignment with your higher self. And then order chips and salsa, queso dip, all of the unhealthy things, a dessert, a soda, because that is not in alignment with that thought. If it's not in alignment with the thought, then it won't become you, because you're telling the universe, I just like to think about it. I'm not going to act on it. But if you do the opposite of that, and you say, I am healthy and I make healthy decisions, and then you order accordingly, like a healthy salad or a grilled chicken and water to drink, when you do that over and over and over, the belief within you of who you are becomes reality. And then you receive it. That's how this works. Be the positive coach in your mind. Let go of the negative energy that's been built within you that's telling you the worst in the world, that's helping you see the lower frequency in the world. It no longer serves you. It is a choice. Decide to be the higher version of you today and become the rising tide that lifts all ships. Well, thank you so much for listening. I hope this episode was impactful and gave you a positive perspective on what you can do to shift your reality. If you want to make sure you don't miss a single episode, make sure you subscribe to my email list. There's a link down below. It will keep you up to date with every single episode. And if you want to follow me on social media, there's my Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook group all down below. I appreciate all the follows there. And if you listen to this episode and you want to build that coach within you, you want to create the positive version of you and make it a reality, this is what I do. I'm a mindset coach. Whether you're an entrepreneur trying to expand your business or you're an individual just trying to feel good within, this is how the program works. It's a 12-week program built specifically for you to do this exact process. If you want to find out more information, you can reach out to me via Instagram, or you can fill out the link below and I will reach out to you directly. We can make this shift happen. You have a higher version of you and it's ready for you. Whether you just want to listen to the podcast and get your growth that way or work with me one-on-one, it's all available to you. Well, thank you so much for listening. Have a great day and I can't wait to talk to you next time.